He wasn't loud. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't even moving. But to the pilot, a black boy sitting alone in first class didn't look right. So he made the call, and what followed, it shattered every assumption in that terminal. Because the man walking off that private jet wasn't just anybody. He was the FAA administrator. And the boy, his son, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing how far our stories travel. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and add your voice to this global community. Let's get into it. The airport buzzed with that usual hum, wheeled luggage rolling, overhead announcements echoing, and travelers pacing through the gates with purpose. 12-year-old Micah sat quietly in seat 1A of the Delta first-class boarding area, legs swinging slightly, a worn book in his lap. His father had boarded a private meeting jet for an urgent aviation inspection, instructing Micah to wait for him in the executive terminal. Micah knew better than to draw attention. His dad always told him, "When you're black, son, the world sees you before it hears you. Let them hear your silence speak." But silence couldn't save him this time. From the other side of the lounge, a white female pilot in uniform stood watching. She nudged the flight attendant beside her. "Something's off," the pilot muttered. "Kid like that? First class?" No adult in sight. The flight attendant hesitated. "He's not causing any trouble." "Doesn't matter. I've got protocol." "What if he's a runaway? A security risk?" Micah looked up just in time to see the pilot speaking into her radio. The words unattended minor, possible impersonation, and police escort made it loud enough for others to glance over. Within minutes, 2 uniformed airport officers approached Micah. "Stand up, please." Micah blinked. "Why? Are you here with someone?" "My dad. He's flying a short inspection. I have clearance to wait here. You can check. We'll need you to come with us." A growing crowd started to stare. Murmurs filled the air. A woman whispered, "They're dragging that little boy away." "But why?" Micah's voice shook. "I didn't do anything wrong." "I'm sure you didn't," one officer said without conviction. "Let's just verify everything." The pilot crossed her arms, watching smugly as Micah was led away. "I knew something was up," she muttered. "Better safe than sorry." 20 minutes passed, and then everything shifted. The low rumble of a jet engine interrupted the murmur of the terminal. A sleek, private Gulfstream taxied onto the executive tarmac, drawing a small crowd near the lounge windows. The jet door dropped. A tall, commanding black man in a navy blue aviation blazer stepped out. The FAA seal was stitched into his lapel. His face was calm, but his eyes? Ice-cold fire. The terminal manager rushed toward him. "Administrator Collins, we didn't know you were—" "Where's my son?" he asked, not breaking stride. The pilot paled. "Wait, that's your kid?" Micah appeared at the hallway end, flanked by 2 confused officers. "Micah," the man called, his voice steady. Micah ran into his father's arms. "They thought I didn't belong here." The FAA administrator turned slowly to the officers, then to the pilot. "You didn't recognize the son of the man who signed your annual compliance reviews? That says more about your vision than your training." "Sir, I thought—" "You thought wrong." No yelling, no fists, just a devastating silence that spread like wildfire through the lounge. The FAA administrator gently placed a hand on Micah's back. "To every black boy watching," he said to no one and everyone, "know this. You do belong, even when they don't see it." The lounge was still holding its breath when Administrator Collins wrapped his arm around Micah and turned to leave. But just before they reached the exit, a voice called out, weak, uncertain, "Wait, sir." It was the pilot. Her face had drained of color. Her eyes darted between father and son, her uniform still crisp, but her posture no longer confident. I want to apologize," she said, stepping forward. "I didn't know." Jeremiah stopped, turned. "Didn't know what?" he asked calmly. The pilot faltered. "I didn't know who you were. And if he weren't my son, if I wasn't a government official." Jeremiah's tone was even, but something in it stung like a slap. "Would you still be standing here?" The room was silent again. The kind of silence that demanded introspection, not just from her, but from everyone who watched it happen and said nothing. The pilot's jaw tightened. Look, I was just doing my job. No, Jeremiah said. You were doing your judgment. Micah shifted slightly, his hand still gripping his father's fingers. The pilot glanced at Micah, then back. I've flown for 22 years. I've seen every kind of passenger. This world, it trains you to be cautious. Jeremiah nodded slowly. No, it trains you to be afraid of people who don't fit your image of safe. That's not caution. That's conditioning. A long pause passed between them. The air thickened with a truth no one could wiggle out of. Jeremiah bent slightly, looked his son in the eye. You okay? He asked. Micah nodded. Barely. I'm used to it. And that was the part that broke something in the room. More than the lecture, more than the title. It was a quiet acceptance in a child's voice. The resignation. You shouldn't be, Jeremiah said, his voice catching just slightly. You're 12. You shouldn't be used to being treated like a threat. The airport director stepped forward, wringing his hands nervously. Sir, please allow me to offer formal apologies. On behalf of the terminal and Delta, we take full. Jeremiah cut him off with a look. Not cruel, but cold. This isn't about apologies. It's about assumptions. One of your employees assumed my son didn't belong here. No badge, no behavior, just skin. Captain Pierce stepped in again. I truly am sorry. If there's anything I could do to make this right. Micah looked up at her. You could stop doing it to the next kid. Pierce blinked. Then slowly, finally, the ice began to crack. You're right, she said quietly. You're right. Jeremiah gave her a single nod. If you mean that, then next time, ask a question, not a security detail. With that, he and Micah turned, stepped into the glass double doors, and disappeared down the hall. The pilot didn't move. Neither did anyone else. But something had shifted in the space. Later that night, back at their hotel suite, Micah sat curled on the edge of the bed, a blanket around his shoulders, flipping through channels but not really watching. Jeremiah poured 2 mugs of chamomile tea, set one down next to the son. I shouldn't have left you alone, he said softly. Micah shrugged. You trusted the rules. I did too. Jeremiah leaned back in the chair across from him. Being black in America, he said, sometimes feels like walking through someone else's house, even when you've got the keys. Micah nodded. You think she really felt bad? The pilot. Jeremiah sighed. I think she felt seen. And maybe for the first time, she saw us too, not just through a policy, but as people. Micah looked down. You think it'll ever stop? There was no quick answer. Jeremiah stared out the window, past the skyline, into the quiet. Not unless we keep showing up, he finally said. Not unless we keep taking our place. Even when they think we don't belong. Micah sat up. Like you do? Jeremiah smiled a slow, worn smile. Exactly like that. The next morning, as they arrived at the same airport to catch their return flight, something unexpected happened. The same pilot, Captain Pierce, was standing near the check-in gate, not in uniform, but in casual travel clothes. She approached them, holding something in her hand. I requested to meet your boarding personally, she said. Jeremiah raised an eyebrow. She handed Micah a small, handwritten note. This is for you. Micah opened it. It read, To Micah, I was wrong. You taught me more in one afternoon than flight school did in years. Don't ever shrink to make people comfortable. Keep taking up space. Lauren Pierce, a pilot who now sees better. Micah looked up at her, surprised. Thank you, he said, clutching the note like it mattered. Because it did. Pierce nodded. Then she looked at Jeremiah. I can't undo what I assumed, but I'm going to start unlearning it. That starts with owning it. Jeremiah extended his hand. They shook. As the gate opened, Michael walked ahead, but before stepping in, he turned around and called back. Hey, Captain Pierce. She looked up. I'm going to be a pilot one day, too. She smiled. Good. We need better ones. And with that, Michael walked forward into a future that wasn't handed to him, but claimed. Sometimes the most powerful change doesn't come from confrontation, but from conviction. From people who refuse to stay quiet. From children who shouldn't have to be brave, but are anyway. Would you have spoken up in that lounge? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this story if it moved you. You never know whose heart it might change.